Hi, and welcome to my second progress update video, where I'm going to be talking about what I did this past week relating to my ultimate goal of creating a video game. This past week was kind of rough because, as you will see soon, some of my projects didn't really turn out how I wanted them to, and I ended up kind of giving up. Not totally, but I did give up at certain points. But even though I did end up with a few fails, there were definitely successes too. And now, let's take a look at what I did this past week toward my goal of becoming a video game creator. So, last week I followed a few Blender videos and then used what I learned from them to make my own little project. And this week I decided to start off with a personal project just to sort of stretch my wings and test out my modeling skills a bit. I decided to try making a really simple plate. So I just started with a cylinder, I resized it, and I did a lot of cutting and extruding to create the shape I wanted. And here I'm making a little for sale sticker just as a fun detail. I don't actually know how to write on mesh in Blender, so you just have to imagine it says for sale or has a price written on it. But I tried making one corner look a bit worn out, as if someone tried taking it off but ripped it and then gave up and left it. Next, I moved on to materials, and I really wanted the plate to be a nice shade of green, so I just made something simple. I'm not very familiar with how to use material nodes. I've watched a couple videos about them, but I still can't really do anything that complicated. But to make the plate look interesting, I just made the ridges on the top and bottom white to contrast with the green. And I also made everything shiny so it looks more realistic. Then for the sticker, I just made it a kind of grayish blue. It's really not that interesting. But this was the finished plate. I think it came out pretty good. For one of my first solo Blender projects, I feel pretty happy with it. Next, I thought the plate was looking a little lonely, so I made a fork. Making the tongs of the fork turned out to be a lot more difficult than I thought. I ended up redoing this whole thing quite a few times, but making it was a lot of fun, and that's what counts. So here, I actually just deleted the tongs completely because the mesh was getting too complicated. So I just straightened out the subdivisions, and it looked a lot better this time. You know, you can learn so much from a tutorial, but it's really hard to get that information to stick. I think a major part of learning a new skill, whether it's 3D modeling or playing an instrument, is just doing it. Just exploring Blender on your own and clicking buttons and trying things out is a really great way to learn. I also ended up making a material for the fork. I made the tongs part a simple metal material, but then I really wanted the body of the fork to be a clear plastic. And for that, I did end up watching a tutorial on making a clear plastic material, but as you can see on the left side of the screen, the tutorial required me to use like 20 or 30 nodes for this, which seemed crazy to me. Also, I simply didn't understand what the nodes were doing. It was all just gibberish to me, and I kind of felt that following along with a tutorial that I didn't understand was actually not helpful. I tried to sort of analyze the nodes and figure out what they did, but it was all just too complicated for me, and it honestly felt like overkill. Why do I need 30 nodes just to make a solid colored, clear plastic? So I felt like there must be a better way to go about this, and I ended up just making my own material, sort of using what I could understand from the tutorial and copying whatever parts of it I genuinely understood. And I ended up making something that looked quite good. It wasn't clear exactly, but at this point it was good enough. After you spend an hour or two on a simple project like this, you just want it to be over. So I fiddled around with it a little bit, but then I settled on this sort of shiny, plasticky yellow material. And then, of course, when you're mentally drained from taking longer than expected on a project that was supposed to be super simple, the first thing you want to do is make the project even more complicated, right? Well, using the same material as the fork, I made a matching knife and spoon. They were a lot easier than the fork because they're just sort of solid shapes, unlike forks which have tongs. But they, combined, maybe took me another 45 minutes to an hour. And then the napkin is just a mesh rectangle that I colored green and made very thin. It's not cloth, it's truly just a rectangle, which you can see if you look closely. After finishing the silverware project and only knowing how to make a napkin out of like a solid rectangle, I felt like maybe I should work on cloth. So the next project I wanted to do was actually just make a cloth napkin. And I saw on YouTube that you could make like a really nice folded cloth napkin with animation and physics. So I really wanted to give that a try. I started by just making a table. I was trying to do sort of like a wooden table with panels using the array modifier, but I couldn't get it to look that great, and it was getting too complicated. And all I really wanted to do was test the napkin physics, because I wanted to make a napkin fall onto a table. That's all I wanted to do. And then the napkin is just a plane. I gave the napkin cloth and collision physics, and I gave the table collision physics. And I thought that was all you had to do. But when I pressed like animate or play, the napkin just like would not actually touch the table. It would just hover right above it. And I really do not know why. I thought maybe it was something to do with a setting or maybe the scale of the two objects, but I really do not know. I feel like I clicked on every single button in the physics tab and just nothing was working. So yeah, I still don't really know what I did wrong. I think what I just have to do is do more tutorials and maybe actually take notes on what they do so I don't forget, because I got so frustrated trying to make this work. Many things in life are intuitive, but Blender is definitely not one of those things. At least not for me. There are just so many buttons and settings. It seems like it's impossible, even though it's not, but it seems impossible to know what all of them do. And hopefully someday I'll actually know what they all do, but right now I just don't. After the whole napkin thing, I had to take a little break because it was just so annoying. And I still don't know what I did wrong, so I just gave up. But I did come back, and I decided to work on an isometric bedroom project. I decided to follow this tutorial by Twan Oligschlager. I really wanted to make my real-life bedroom as a cute isometric Blender model. I just really love how everything sort of looks like a little miniature toy, or like it's kind of made out of clay. So I started just by making a very basic square room and then putting 2 identical bed frames in, because in real life my room does have 2 twin beds. My room also has a rug, so I did watch a separate tutorial on how to make sort of a rug texture, and I think that came out pretty good. Yeah, and then I just added mattresses and some pillows. The pillows are basically just the mattress, but smaller. And then I made a really basic rectangular bedside table. And then I tried adding some materials. And this is sort of where I felt like things were going wrong. Like, these colors do exist in my bedroom. And in real life, I feel like they look okay. But in this model, it just wasn't working for me. But my beds are green, and I do have pink sheets. So, I don't know, but for some reason the colors really threw me off. I tried fixing them, but I just felt like nothing was working. And once I started doubting myself over the materials, I ended up doubting myself over the model itself. Honestly, looking at it now, it doesn't look that bad, but when I was working on it, I was just so up close to all of the little errors that I made that it was hard to see past them. I mean, the pillows don't look that great, and the blanket is very stiff looking, and I still don't really know how to fix that. So, I'm not super happy with this, but I think it was a good try. With the napkin project, I really do believe it was just a settings issue, but with this bedroom project, it really just got me kind of questioning my modeling skills or my skills as an artist, because even though the model itself looked okay, it still wasn't what I had pictured in my head, and I felt like I just didn't have a great vision, and artists kind of need to be able to make good visions so they can create good looking projects. And I was just sort of doubting whether I actually have that sort of ability. But it honestly doesn't matter if I have any artistic ability right now, because the point of these videos is to show my growth as an artist and game creator. And you have to start somewhere. So if this is where I'm starting, it's honestly not that bad. The next day, I was filled with motivation to get back on Blender and see what I could do. After my questionable isometric bedroom project, I decided I wanted to start all over and make a completely new Blender model. I really wanted to try making another bedroom, but this time, instead of following a whole bedroom making tutorial, I chose to design my own bedroom and just watch tutorials if I got stuck. So I watched a video on how to make a bed in Blender, how to import materials, how to create floorboards using the array modifier, and I revisited modeling cloth so I could make a semi-realistic looking blanket. I got stuck quite a bit, but after about 2 hours of planning things out, creating a really simple bed model, and setting up materials, it was done. So this is super basic, but I think it came out really great. I'm kind of following a cool color scheme of blues and oranges and browns, and it looks so much better in terms of just colors than the other bedroom model I did, and I'm feeling much better about it. The goal of this new project is to make a whole little bedroom model and maybe a window or two, probably a bedside table or some sort of shelf, and maybe another carpet or rug. So clearly I haven't finished this. I'm definitely going to continue it probably in the coming week. It's not perfect. The blanket is very thick and the wood pattern on the floorboards repeats in kind of an obvious way. But overall, I think it looks great. And finally, here's a drawing I made of Finn and Jake from Adventure Time. I just copied it from a comic I have, so it's definitely not original art. It's not a trace thing, I just copied it. It was fun to make, and I think doing more stuff like this will definitely help me learn more about art and character design and drawing, which is pretty important for game development and is also just a skill I would really like to have. So, there were some fails this week, but I think the successes definitely outweighed them. Plus, I haven't really been on this journey for that long, and I feel like I'm in a good place. Also, I do just want to say that even though I think the second bedroom model that I was making looks way better, and it does look much more realistic than the first one, I don't think that realism is necessarily the goal. I'm just trying to make something that looks good. I don't know what my style as an artist is going to be yet. I'm still in the very early stages of figuring that out, but yeah, I don't think art has to always look real, obviously, but I think the bedroom just in general looked better and was more visually pleasing to me. And now it's time to start thinking about what I'm gonna do next week. Even though I made some great progress this past week, something that I was lacking was structure. I would sort of just sit down at my desk, open the computer, and then figure out in that moment what I wanted to create. Instead of having like a set goal for myself, I think this coming week I would really like to start some sort of structured course. Besides that, I really don't know what I'm going to be doing this upcoming week, but I'm definitely going to keep working on that bedroom project. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I wish you so much luck in your own passion projects. If you're working toward your own goal, I would love to hear about it. And if you're so inclined, you can leave a comment down below. So thank you again. Have a great week, and hopefully I will make another video next week. Bye.